have Mr. Brightside stuck in my head. That's why I was dancing like that.
From the Michigan game,
I know I
perhaps?
do. I don't know why. I don't know why I do, but that's why. Good Wednesday morning, everybody. This is Colton Cichoracki from the First Alert Weather Team, and they have been very busy this week. But I do want to say, I feel like you got your birthday week wish, and
Mm.
we have snow.
Yeah, and potentially a lot of snow coming right for my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
so there we go. Yeah, it's very busy today. Easily one of the busiest mornings that I've had in quite some time with the forecast and everything that's going on, which is good. Got to keep us on our
I know,
toes.
right?
But we do have several systems that we need to watch out for in terms of snow and wintry weather that's going to be coming. And I'll talk about this too in just a couple minutes. Is the cold that's also coming? So heading into next week, easily some of the coldest air of the entire season will be coming, and we're going to be talking about wind chills that will be dropping below zero at times heading into next week as well. So I tried to find ways to break this down in a way that's understandable.
Okay.
So one of the ways that I wanted to do this is by showing you the impacts. Now, this is in terms of each system that's going to come in. Now, this morning we have been dealing with some of the slippery travel conditions because of the snow that we saw last night. There were some school closings as well. So still leaving that in the medium category, but it looks like a lot of the main roads are starting to look just mostly wet. So hopefully that trend continues. Now, as we head into tomorrow morning, we'll actually be tracking another system that comes in. It's a weak clipper system, so those are quick moving. It'll be in and out very soon, but it is going to happen during the Thursday morning commute, and I do expect a couple inches of accumulation with that system on Thursday. That'll move out by the afternoon, and then our next system comes in Friday into Saturday, and that's the one. That's the big one that's coming as we head into probably Friday afternoon and into early parts of our Saturday. We have already declared both of those days first alert weather
I
days,
saw that.
and we are expected to see some higher impacts, potentially significant impacts from that system Friday into Saturday. So there's a lot to talk about. So I kind of want to go in chronological order here because we've been seeing some snow showers out there this morning. Those are beginning to fade away. Only some light lake effect snow is remaining. I can't rule out a few more flurries still, but I think for the most part the snow is done, and we will dry out for the rest of the day with cloudy skies outside of maybe a flurry or two that'll still happen, but nothing widespread like what we've seen out there earlier this morning. My drive into work was not fun. It was
No.
really coming down when I was driving into work. But looking at the hour by hour forecast, we'll show you this throughout the day today. Again, maybe a few flurries, but other than that, it's cloudy today. Temperatures climb up to around 33, 34 degrees or so later on today. But watch what happens as we get into tomorrow morning. A very quick moving system moves in from the west, and this will bring us around to some light snow early tomorrow morning. And the total amount of snow is not the big deal. It's the timing of it. So it's going to be happening right during that morning commute. We'll likely see some light snow coming down, and it'll probably add up to a couple inches. I would say an inch or two possible with this system. But the good news is that it's very quick to move out. So by the afternoon, it's out of here, and the rest of the day should be just fine. So it's really going to be the morning commute tomorrow that will be impacted. I want to show you one of our computer models here in terms of accumulation with that. Again, not very much, maybe up to an inch or two, but that's about it. So it's not going to cause too many issues out there, but be mindful that you may need an extra few minutes as we head into tomorrow. As we are tracking that next system that's going to come on in. Now, let's talk about Friday to Saturday because we did make the decision to declare them first alert weather days. Our computer models are in pretty decent agreement that there's going to be a strong system that comes in. And the difference between this one and Tuesday's system is that this one has much colder air to work with. So that does mean that we will see more snow from it than what we saw with this past system. And there is certainly a potential of seeing some heavier snowfall. Definitely probably some of our heaviest snow of the season. Still to date, our heaviest snow of the season is only 2.5 inches. So that's not saying very much, but we will likely see more than that with this upcoming system. And one of the things too about it is that there will be some strong winds with this. So we could see wind gusts with the snow falling between 30 and 40 miles per hour. So that will lead to a tremendous amount of blowing and drifting snow, as well as reduce the visibility even more. So, near blizzard-like conditions may be possible
Yikes.
with this system. So
We
overall,
haven't heard that word in a while.
no, it doesn't happen very often. So overall, big travel impacts are expected. I know we're still about 2 days out from this, but I would certainly be thinking about changing your plans for Friday into Saturday. If you had any plans, especially in the evening, I would definitely think about rescheduling those because this is going to be a strong system that's going to move in. So I want to show you one of our computer models. Now, there are still some subtle differences in our models. And again, just like every discrete winter storm, we have to keep an eye on the track of the system. Some of them have shifted a little bit further to the west, and what that may allow is for a very brief window of it changing over to a wintry mix or maybe a little bit of some rain, and then change back to snow. But I don't expect this to be a situation like the Tuesday system where we changed over for rain and we saw mostly rain from it. I don't expect that to be the case here because colder air will be moving in as the system is also moving in. So here's a look at 2:30 in the afternoon. So we already are starting to see some of that snow begin. And a lot of this is going to be falling Friday evening and into Friday night. So now there is what we're talking about, a little bit of that wintry mix. The low pressure system, according to this model, is directly overhead almost, and that's what allows just a brief window of some warmer air to come in and change things over to some rain, potentially. This is not a likely solution, and we'll likely see this kind of bounce around a bit as we get closer to the system, but obviously where it stays all snow, that's where we will see the heaviest snow from the system, but it does look like this could be a very strong one with a lot of moisture to work with, so we are expecting some pretty decent snowfall totals here with the system. Even if we do change over to a little bit of some rain, we'll change right back over to some snow Friday night. And then we'll see snow showers linger into Saturday and potentially even into Sunday. That's a big question mark at this point. Models don't do well with lake effect. So what I did is I included snow showers in the forecast for Saturday and Sunday because I do expect that once that system moves in, we're going to see a flow coming right off of Lake Huron, or Lake Michigan, I should say, and that's going to allow some lake effect snow to develop. And I do think it'll be strong enough that we'll see some snow showers here across the area, even as we head into Saturday and into Sunday. Now, as I show you the snowfall map here, I very purposefully turned off the numbers on it. I don't want to show the numbers at this point just because they're saying some pretty high numbers at this point.
Okay.
But what you will be able to see here, depending on the exact track, again, depending on where that low pressure system goes. Oops, I put the wrong one in there. I apologize. That's not the right graphic. But anyways, what this would show if it was showing up, I'll just go back to it and draw on it.
Okay.
Is showing maybe some of the heaviest snow in this area and a little bit lesser once you get down here, but still a lot. Still more than what we've seen with any system so far this winter season. I have been saying today on air that we're looking like at least 6 inches of snow from the system. And that would be region wide. Obviously, it would be a little bit less depending on where the cold air or where the warm air comes in, but our models are showing some pretty hefty snow totals with this, and what will also impact us is the fact that it's going to get colder, and that's going to actually help produce a little bit more in the way of accumulating because our snow ratios change. So as the cold air comes in, it's not as heavy of a wet dense snow. It's a little bit lighter and fluffier, and that's easier to accumulate. So those are
also easier to navigate.
Right, and it's also easier to shovel. So we may talk about an instance where we have a heavy wet snow to begin, and then it kind of becomes a little bit more fluffy, so it might be difficult to shovel because that bottom layer may be a little bit heavier than the top layer, so it's going to be one of those situations, it looks like, with the system. So it's certainly one that we need to keep a close eye on. Again, we're about 48 hours out from this. I would suspect that we'll probably get a winter storm watch at some point, either today or into tonight from the National Weather Service, as the system is looking very impressive, and the models have been showing this for several days now. We've had just to get through Tuesday. But with that system before we started to really talk about this system. But what I do also want to mention is what's going to happen beyond this, because we are likely going to see some of the coldest air of the entire season so far come in. And I want to show you one of our models here. And this is showing temperatures just a little bit high in the sky, a little bit in the atmosphere. But where you see these colors, the lighter blues and even some of the greens, that's the warmer air, relatively warmer air. The pinks and the whites, that's the cold air. And watch.
I was gonna say, there's white.
Yeah, and so this is 8 o'clock Friday morning. So watch what happens as we play this through time. We see that cold air start to come in Saturday morning. Again, that's why I said even if we change over to some rain at times with that system, we're gonna have cold air funneling in during the system. So that's why we'll likely change back over. But watch what happens as we head into Sunday and into next week. We see that pink color really show up all across the Great Lakes region. And one thing that will help us out in terms of temperatures here in Michigan is the fact that our waters on the Great Lakes are still pretty warm. So we'll actually warm up a little bit because of that. Some warmer air will likely be funneling into the area, but we'll still get cold, but we're not going to be as cold as what they'll see out to our west.
Okay.
So that's what tends to happen when, the Great Lakes are no ice on them at all. Virtually no ice anyways. So
that's crazy though, because right underneath where the News 10 Plus logo is, it's all the way that far north, like mid Jersey,
Yeah.
it's rainy out over the ocean.
Mhm.
But like as far south as Lexington, it's colder.
Yeah, so you got to think about it too. Is like this is a big dip in the jet stream. So yeah, so it's like a
Upside down bell curve.
yeah. So warmer air will move into the north, and then cold air spins it, its way down to the south. So we're talking about some very cold air, not only for the Midwest, but even for our friends further south as
Yeah.
well. So it definitely the coldest air of the season. So I'll show you some of the temperatures that we are forecasting at this time. Now these are the high temperatures. We have 31 as the average high, so we'll actually be above that for the next couple of days. But then Saturday's the day that we start to cool down, and then look at the high. Again, these are high temperatures. 11 degrees on Monday and Tuesday, and then 12 on Wednesday. And I'll be honest with you, is that I would not be surprised if Monday, maybe Tuesday, were colder than that, and maybe not even get out of the single digits. So
Did you do that because I know you like put this all together? Did you do that because those are your days off?
no, I did not do that.
Okay.
But
So we can't blame you for that.
no, don't blame me for this. But this is really also the big story too when it comes to low temperatures.
Okay.
Because look at these numbers. So these are the low temperatures. Average lower this time of year is 18. And by the time we get into Monday and Tuesday, the lows will be likely down in the single digits. So certainly the coldest air of the season by far, not even close. I mean, this is by far the coldest air of the season. And one thing that we'll need to keep an eye on too is the fact that it looks kind of windy
Okay.
during this time frame as well. So after that system moves out Saturday, it kind of gets stuck a little bit. So we'll see some winds with this. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I do think that there'll be some breezy conditions. And when you have temperatures this cold, we likely will be talking about wind chill values being below zero. So that's all in addition to this. So we'll get a snowpack, I do think, as we head into this weekend. And I do think that the snow will stick around for quite some time because of how cold it's going to be into next week, which I am a fan of because I am tired of seeing the brown sticks
Yeah.
and grass and things like that.
That is pretty bad. So we had some questions. You said that this snow may be the lighter, fluffier snow. Pairing that with the winds, are you expecting anything to like really impact the roads? When all
Yeah.
that fluffy snow blows into the road.
Yeah, so I think initially what's going to happen is that it will be a heavier wet snow initially and then change to a fluffy snow.
Okay.
But the winds are really going to cause some issues with some blowing and drifting snow, especially when in terms of the north-south roads because we'll have the winds from the west. So those are things that we'll have to watch out for. I'm really concerned Saturday morning. I think that is Friday night into Saturday morning. I really think that's the main time frame that we're going to see a lot of these impacts and the heaviest snowfall. So it's definitely something that we need to watch out for. I work Saturday morning, so we'll see what I have to do
Tune
if I sleep here or something. But we'll figure it out. So it's definitely going to be a strong system nonetheless. I see Susan is asking about how much snow are we supposed to get.
On Friday into Saturday.
Yeah, so at least 6 inches is what I'm saying across mid-Michigan. We'll probably fine-tune that and get an official snowfall map out soon. We're still going to wait one more time. We'll get some new model data here this morning that will kind of pinpoint because our models have been kind of shifting around a little bit with where that heaviest snow is coming. But it looks like most of us will see at least 6 inches of snow. So it is going to be the largest snowfall of the season, I do think. And it's remarkable how well our models are doing right now.
That's what you guys were saying about this last one.
Yeah, so I'll comment on this because the Tuesday system, even though it ended up being mostly rain, our models had that system showing up for more than a week. We knew a system was coming, but the fine details of whether or not it was rain or snow or a combination of both didn't get worked out until a few days before. And the same thing with this system. This system has been showing up for quite some time in the models, but we haven't really mentioned it too much because of the Tuesday system. We had to get through that first, and I always say that there's a lot of weather to happen before something moves in. So we had to see how that system ended up going because that will have implications on how the next system comes in and what that does. Everything in weather is related. So how that low pressure tracked through the area and how we changed over to rain will impact what we end up seeing with this next system and the track of that one. So it's very interesting, and I shout out to the computer models right now because they have had these systems in place. And it's also true that the models are pretty consistently showing a swath of heavy snow moving through Michigan, but where exactly the heaviest snow sets up is what we need to find out. I would say the further south and east that you live, the lower chance you have at seeing that, but doesn't
Okay.
mean that things won't shift a little bit before we get to that. So it's an interesting one to watch because some of our models are showing some hefty snowfall totals, but we'll keep an eye on that. Things can still change as we get closer. We're still about 48 hours out, but I would suspect that we'll probably start to get into a winter storm watch probably later today or into tonight with that system.
And that's from the National Weather Service? Okay.
I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I'm just assuming
Right.
that's what's going to happen.
So a couple people kind of joined us a little bit late. Thank you for joining us. Julie says, snow Friday into Saturday. Yes, that's actually what you're most worried about.
It is.
Yes.
And I don't want people to get confused because there is another system that comes in tomorrow morning, but that's not the same one. And it's not going to be very heavy. Up to an inch or two is expected with that one. But yeah, it's Friday afternoon, Friday night, into Saturday morning. But I would suspect that there's going to be impacts through the day on Saturday and potentially even into Sunday as well.
Faith says, of course, on the weekend. Well, it's a
I know it.
good reason to stay inside and, curl up with a book or something. Have some soup.
Yeah, and and I would use the next couple of days. We didn't need the snow blowers yet, but I would make sure that they're ready to go because I do suspect that many of us will be needing it. If things can still change, we're still 48 hours out, but models are pretty locked in on showing something moving through with quite a bit of snow. So we'll keep an eye on that, and of course we'll keep you updated as we get closer to the system. So we have the first of the weather days declared. That means we'll have increased weather times in the show. We'll have reporters working on things too. So we'll have you updated as we get closer to this, but just keep in mind that Friday into Saturday looks pretty interesting around here.
And at least then, you don't have to worry about school closings for the next day.
That's true.
So
That's true.
You have that going for you, Faith. Friday into Saturday, kids are already home, so
Yep, that's true.
a good point. All right. Well, you're going to be sticking around for News 10 today at 11.
Nope, Justin will be in.
Wednesday,
For the
yeah.
11. Yep. So I am off
I
after
calendar.
this. It's okay.
All right. Let's see what we have coming up on News 10 today. 11. I have it. Where is it? It's right here. There it is.
That comment right there about the confidence. You're right. No, but it looks like the confidence is high enough that it looks like we'll see a system come in. But then maybe I'm just jinxing us, and then we'll end up getting nothing. But
He really wants snow, though.
I really want snow, so I've been holding off on saying anything about this. But it continuously shows up in the models, so we'll see something from it, and we'll let you know if that does change.
Well, and just the cold alone is going to be kind of a shock to everybody. I haven't worn a coat like more than 4 days since October.
Well, and it's interesting too. So getting a little bit into meteorology of it, what's easier to forecast is big pattern changes. So because it's a larger scale event, right? So when you're talking about a blast of cold air that's going to move through the Midwest and into the Great Lakes, that's a larger scale issue, and computer models actually handle that much better than smaller scale things.
Okay.
So a smaller scale thing would be something like a low pressure system that brings us heavy snow. So that's why we're pretty confident that we're going to see that blast of cold air regardless of what we see with the system Friday into Saturday. But it's kind of interesting, too. There's so much to weather and so many things that you can get into, the weeds and things like that.
Especially here in Michigan. You got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's why I like
and
working
they had
here.
tornadoes in Florida overnight. So
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
Well, and the severe weather that they saw down south was the same system that came through here. It was just the bottom part of it with a cold front. So all weather is related.
All related. All right, well, I'm going to go back to what's coming up on News 10 today at 11 with Taylor Gattoni and Justin Bradford. We have got, taking place in Detroit today, the National Guard is hosting a weapons of mass destruction exercise to address potential threats that could be seen at large-scale events. Of course, like I said, this is happening in Detroit. Just a couple of months, the NFL draft is going to be held in Detroit. So Detroit has a lot of stuff coming up that are going to be on the national stage. So RMI Kuznicki is down there right now checking that out. Plus, all of the, like Colton was saying, all of the weather yesterday, there's a lot of chaos when it comes to travel. And we have a consumer alert because if you're flying this week, you can expect cancellations and delays. Some of it is from that Boeing. They're grounding its 737 MAX 9 planes after the door plug detached on that Alaska Airlines flight. But other stuff is for the weather. So we're looking at everything that's going into the travel chaos, from weather to mechanical issues. And then yesterday, the champions were welcomed home when the Michigan football team came home to Ann Arbor from Houston with that trophy. and there were tons of fans out there. I don't know if you saw it, Colton, but a lot of fans braving the rain and the cold to stand out there for so long waiting for the team to come back, and the team addressed the fans, and we're very appreciative of everything. So
I did see the video, and it reminds me of when I was in college. I went to CMU, and we beat Oklahoma State. Do you remember that game? It was like the final play of the game, and it was like crazy. And it was CMU's first win over a ranked team in I don't know how long. But later that night, they got back home, and they had like a little welcoming party. So there was a big group of us that were out there as they got off the buses. So that's just what that reminded me of. But very cool, and congrats to Michigan, obviously, for the national championship.
And if you missed that, we did live stream it, so you can check it out on our YouTube page, our Facebook Live, and on video on demand. So if you want to go back and hear what they had to say to the crowd, you can check that out. Plus, another really cool thing, Michigan related, I know I keep talking about it, I'm sorry, but Fred Human's full interview with former head coach Lloyd Carr, also on demand. So that is a really good interview to check out. They reminisced about some pretty good times back in 1997 when Michigan won their previous championship. So all of that said, we will be back here on the News 10 Plus digital desk at 2 p.m. with another updated look at your weather going into the afternoon. Taylor Gattoni will be here with Justin Bradford. We're also going to check in with our news team to see what they are working on for over 90 minutes of news that starts with First at 4. Don't forget to download the First Alert Weather app, especially in a time like this where things are changing and the First Alert Weather team is really watching what's coming up.
Yeah, and we'll post updates in there throughout the next several days, so you'll get push notifications sent right to your phone. And if a watch does end up going up today or tomorrow, you'll get that notification on your phone as well.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this morning. Stay safe out there and have a great Wednesday.